stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Not seeing any clergy here tonight. Public input? Is there anybody here for public input? Yes, please stand up to the.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Bernard Kennedy. Unfortunately, my wife couldn't join me this evening. But we moved into Lindsborg November 16th. I was born and raised in Detroit, lived there for 30 years, spent 37 years in Phoenix. And we moved into a smaller community because that's where we want to spend the rest of our years. Not to hold this up, but I have one question, and that is regarding my surcharge. My average bill runs around $36. I've got a little over half an acre. Fortunately, we've got enough rain where I haven't had a lot of grass. But I've got a $56 surcharge. Having been an accountant and an auditor for all of my life, it's a little hard to understand it now. Phoenix was having the same problem that they did on new construction, new buildings. That charge was assessed against the building, who in turn, of course, passed on to the buyer of the property. But I was just wondering if this is appropriate. Can you tell me why the surcharges are so high, or can I put a meter on my sewer line and send you folks a bill once a month?
Are you talking the sewer line charge?
Sewer line charge, yes.
The primary driver in that was in 2010. We completed a sewer plant upgrade. That upgrade was $5.3 million. And that was, the majority of the cost was to meet environmental regulations that were coming into play for higher treatments of nitrogen and phosphorus. Additionally, we had to add some redundancy to the facility, and since that is a facility that is used by the entire community and the increases weren't driven, such as, you mentioned, what you're talking about, what you see is impact fees. If a new subdivision, whatever, has an impact on a facility, that's not what drove this project. It was regulation compliance.
And I look forward to, once this is paid off, I don't know if revision bonds or what, it's, yeah, underneath it over here. Will this be dropping down, assuming things are?
I would love to say yes, but I can tell you what happens is we get a permit on a 10-year cycle. We have overlapping debt because typically it's issued on a 20-year cycle. What happens is every time we get a new permit, there's a different regulation we have to comply with. I mean, it's definitely something, if we can, we will lower, but I can't guarantee you right now that it will be lowered. I can tell you that when we did that project, out of the $5.3 million, we had $500,000 of it in reserves that we used for the project. We also got a grant for another $500,000, and then we got $1.5 million principal forgiveness through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. So out of that $5.3 million, we only had to bond $3.3 million. So I understand what you're saying. We were doing everything we could to minimize the impact on the rate. Yeah, and from a residential sewer rate standpoint, we calculate the sewer rate on water consumption, but only just on the winter months. And is that, Larry, is that November through March?
4 months, November, December, January, and February.
Okay, because at that point, we use that as the rationale, because if people do use water to irrigate their lawns, that way it's non-summer consumption. It won't be counted. Lawn watering won't be counted into that rate.
Last thing I would like to add, as being a new person here and living in much larger towns in the past, I have to commend the people that work for City Hall. When you call in, you get a
If you have additional questions or anything else, please contact some of the great staff that we have. And I agree, they are wonderful people. And
Jury's got me banned.
there you go. There you go. So thank you for bringing that forward to us and bringing that question. Any additional public input? Amendments to the agenda. I see that under C, streets and parks, we're going to add Old Mill Bridge. Everybody has a chance to do that. Any other amendments? Moving on to item 5, approval of minutes from the July 7th, 2014 regular council meeting. What is your desire?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item 6, mayor's report. We'll start with that. K4 project, which will include from Cole Street to Main Street. That project is scheduled to start this week. Later on this week, the barricades will go up with a detour through town and that, and the expected length of time there is 75 days.
70 days.
70 days. Seems shorter than I thought, so how about that? 70 days. That'd be a great project. This is changing it to Concrete Street, which will get all the traffic that it does get, which will be good for the long term of that. Keep in mind, school's starting here soon. High school, grade school, I believe it's Thursday. Those guys start, and Bethany College is the athletes, and some of them are around already. And so when you see the people here, the families and the new school students there at Bethany, please greet them and let them know they're welcome here. Under appointments, I have 2. One of them is Matt Clark for the EMS. Anything you wish to add to that, Tim?
No.
Okay. We take them together or individually? It was the information was in the packet you received. What is your desire there?
Recommend approval.
Second.
Approval and a second on Matt Clark. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Second one is Amy Dreyer for the Parks and Recreation Commission. Kate, anything you wish to add?
No, unless council has questions.
A little more than 10, so we appreciate that. What is your desire on Amy Dreyer? Thank you.
Approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for Amy Dreyer for the Recreation Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. September City Council meetings, remember we are late today, so next week is the council meetings, committee meetings, I'm sorry, that we're going to have, and September council meeting is on Tuesday, September 2nd. Any other discussion on the mayor's report? Hearing none. Planning and zoning, is there anything for that? Hearing none, let's go to item 8, committee reports. Administration and Finance Committee.
The first item is approval of the 2015 budget. Anything more to be said about that? Mr. Mayor, anything more?
What's the appropriate action here? Move to accept?
Move to adopt.
I still move. I have a motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion on our budget 2015? Hearing none, roll call please.
Kelly? Yes. Debbie? Yes. Woody?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Debbie R?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Eno?
Yes.
Becky? Yes. Thank you. The next item is ordinance number 4872, which is about vacant building registration. We've had many ups and downs on this as it is currently here. I'm going to say this is a motion to approve.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second for discussion.
You want to talk about where we are right now?
Gary, when you do, would you push that up to so the camera and everybody can hear and see you? Bring it up towards us. A little further. Thank you. You can't hear him or see him back there, so.
We discussed this as a group a couple of months ago, meeting both committees to review the ordinance complete, and The second time around, we just talked about administration finance, so for the benefit of the other council members, we did a reduction in fees to $250. We took away, secondly, we took away the progressive charge for double. We tried to address issues of the city attorney, that this was what was the term, Bill, a punitive fee. And trust me, monitoring vacant properties is probably, $250 is probably a good price for the amount of time we will have to spend keeping track of vacant buildings. We changed the 45-day trigger and just made it a vacant building for a year is now on the list, okay? We also got rid of the calendar year. That was kind of complicated. Only properties that were vacant in November would then be subject to the fee in the following January calendar year. Now it's after 1 year, if a building is vacant for a year, it's on the list. You get a letter. We allowed for appeals, probate, estate, some sort of issue with that. A property that's being actively marketed for sale or rent would be granted an exemption or a year allowance. And anything under construction, you could appeal for that too. Let's see, and then we didn't have penalties, and I added penalties to the ordinance so that it doesn't go back to the general section of the code. So, any other questions?
Bill, do you think this answers your points?
No, not really. I still think the $250 to just register a property is probably, in my mind, still punitive. Looking at some of the other ordinances that I've seen, many cities have no fee with that. Some of them have $25. I think the highest I saw was $75 in Dallas. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about $50 a day over the first 20 days, generating $1,000 in fines for a 20-day delay. I think both of those things should be changed, decreased. I'm also concerned, frankly, about the comment in the minutes of the committee that the council intended this to be punitive. Because I don't think that should be the basis for this. You've got code enforcement sections to take care of problems, but what you're doing here is charging people just to have property that is not in use. And I'm not sure that the police power of the city can be extended that far.
Thank you.
Bill, I have a question for you. This, what in your estimation, there was discussion as to making this punitive when someone does not do something with the structure, they let it sit there, and they let critters, animals, they let it go to the ground. When someone doesn't mow their yard.
Yeah, and you've got code enforcement sections that address those already.
We do?
Yeah.
Why haven't they been activated?
Well, I think
You have to check, and I think they have been activated in many cases. By what standard do we measure the effectiveness of what that code enforcement has done? Obviously, we didn't take this step in a vacuum. The intention was to make sure that we get these houses that are sitting around town loaded with old property, and people don't come back. As an example, Uncle Joe died, and the family never gets around to getting it cleaned out, and we again end up with houses sitting there going to the ground. I wouldn't want one of those places next to my house. No, and you have remedies available for that already. Is
What-
what I'm saying.
what
All this is doing, for example, there are houses here in town that have been for sale for well more than a year, that are perfectly maintained, that might be $300,000 houses, but they haven't sold for a year. You're going to charge them $250 under this to register. Why?
I believe we said that if they were being actively marketed, that was not an issue.
Or if you're in a situation where they're trying to clear title to it, it takes more than a year to do so.
And we allow a remedy for that, I believe.
For up to a year, yeah.
For up to a year.
But it's,
But my point is, how far does the police power of the city go? And the question that you asked was, did I think this was punitive? And I think it is.
but essentially it's 2 years because it's not considered vacant until after a year. 12
Yeah.
months from vacancy, so if they make an appeal, that's 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would say from discussions, part of the driver has been more than punitive. Part of the driver has been habitually vacant properties that are owned by absentee owners who don't even, out of sight, out of mind.
No, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. And the concept of registering vacant properties, I think is fine. But I don't think a $250 fee to register a vacant property is appropriate. The purpose of registering the vacant property is to give a contact for when problems do occur. But if a vacant property is registered and it's well maintained, to me, then it becomes punitive when you're charging them more than an administrative fee, the time that would be spent in filling out an application for
Let me ask
registration.
this, Gary, how much time, well, and it may be more of a burger thing, but how much time do we spend typically a year in code enforcement and dealing with abandoned properties, man-hour-wise, just estimation?
That's a burden.
Like, I think that's probably more of a burger question. How much time do we spend fighting with abandoned properties and vacant properties a year?
Well, I think that's kind of divided between Tim Dunn and I, because some of the properties, if they're considered unlivable, would fall under his care and duties. And then mine would be more of a cleanup, fix and repair. So we probably both share quite a bit of time in those two areas. I can't tell you how much, but I do know that it does affect my budget. Because a lot of times we end up having to pay for the enforcement, and then of course it rolls back to the owners, but it takes a long time to get that money back. I remember one year we spent over $30,000 in code enforcement in 1 year.
And that's just in your department? So that'd be 100 violations, would be less than 30,000 on this registry.
Well,
I think it takes a lot more than $250 a year to deal with code enforcement on vacant properties, given what I'm hearing from Bergman.
Still, personally, I asked the city attorney for his opinion. He has these opinions. We pay him money for these opinions. Most of the time, they're...
No, you always do.
Yeah.
You always make me money.
I find it difficult to support this when I think the points he's making are good points. I mean, I don't think we should turn this down. I still think the concept of it is right, but I would say return it to committee for another discussion.
Well, I think that there's a section here for appeals, and we allow appeals of just about everything, ordinances, from sidewalks, fences, to everything else. I mean, that is addressed in this. Penalty portion of this, 10-807, to me, I think that is excessive. The $250 registration fee, I don't believe is. I think when we talked about this, part of it was to get people's attention. $25, $10, I mean, that's kind of like registering your dog, to have dog tags. I don't think that's appropriate. I think $250 on situations like this, yes, it is punitive, but they have property that's an eyesore, and we're trying to get their attention. So striking the penalty portion of it, I think I would be in favor of that. The $250 registration portion of it, I am in favor of that as well, $250.
you making a commitment?
Clarify the 10807 thought here for us on the penalty. Is that just basically get it done, so they get it done?
Yes.
Otherwise, you think they'll just blow it off and not
I
get it
think
done?
they'll blow it up, yes.
So the concern that Rick has with $1,000 penalty, if that's reduced to another number, they're still trying to get it done, they can force them to get it done because it hits their wallet. Is that an option for you?
Sure, we can discuss that in committee, or we can decide right now.
Rick, is there a number that you see that,
Probably, Bill, on just some advice there, reduced perhaps the
Well,
maximum.
yeah, I'm looking at Wichita's situation, but that only applies to neglected buildings, not to vacant buildings, but it's somewhat similar. They have a $250 maximum civil penalty each 90 days, and each 90 days it can build up to a maximum of $1,000 over a year. I think that's much more acceptable than $1,000 in 20 days. So something along those lines is probably justifiable. But I want to make sure you understand here that I think you need to draw a distinction between vacant buildings and code enforcement, because there are two separate concepts and two separate concerns that we have. And this whole process that you're going through is attempting to treat vacant buildings as an equal to problem buildings, and they aren't necessarily. I think you need to understand that.
So if this is looked at as a solution to man-hours spent with code enforcement of neglected houses, and then to ultimately have action on the houses, or to have it happen sooner because they don't want to pay a fee so that they would go on the market, or they would just be taken care of, thinking, well, within a year, we're going to have to pay something and then we'll be fined, or could possibly do that. But it doesn't necessarily get rid of the code enforcement man-hours that would continue to happen.
The
You
real
still have to do that whether the house was.
Correct. The real benefit of this type of an ordinance is that it allows you to have a specific contact for property which otherwise you may not know who the owner is. You might have trouble tracking down who the owner is. This concept of a vacant building ordinance is the first step in code enforcement, but it is not code enforcement by itself. It's an aid to code enforcement so that you know who to contact.
but you probably already had a year of code enforcement that first year, the possibility you're gonna have done code enforcement all along the way to get to the time this takes.
Or it's possible that there won't be a need for code enforcement because they would look at this and say, they're serious about this, you can't just leave it at this.
The genesis for this whole ordinance began, discussion of housing, and owned by, let's see, absentee owners. There's been a number of properties within Lindsborg where there's an absentee owner. They failed to do anything to put that property back into productive use. As we try to tackle the housing issue in this community, the most cost-effective way to do it is with existing properties, existing vacant lots, and not wholesale developments, because the infrastructure is in place. This gives us a contact to work with to see if we can move those properties to a direction of being occupied. Our real goal is not to find out who we're going to contact when we have a code enforcement issue. Our real goal is to find out who we're going to contact to move this from being empty to occupied.
Before it becomes neglected.
Yes. And really, even beyond neglected, the idea is to get it back into productive use, because as we talk about housing and the lack of housing, it's still the most inexpensive way to address that issue.
Well, and we also talked about good use of city funds and how we we still have to maintain the streets, we still have to bring utilities to that, the electricity runs by, and if that house is not producing, I mean, when we go into analyzing how we're going to charge the utilities, all of these properties are part of the mix, and you can't just opt out. And so how, I appreciate what Bill is saying, and I'm not sure. I mean, somehow, you know, and we can all, those of us that have lived here for a long time, we can all go around town and we know what properties we're talking about. And I don't know, I'm very conflicted.
I have a question. When we looked at some of the original proposed things that would be included on, within that list, it seems to me that most of them were derelict properties, the pictures I recall looking at. But yet I can think of several properties where there is no one living that would qualify under this, that are maintained, but I don't recall seeing pictures of them.
I can think of 2 or 3, and one in particular is vacant for most of the year. I believe it's occupied for maybe a week or 2 or more.
On Washington?
Just to kind of add to what Greg said, or to say it a little differently, the real intent, in my mind, of the ordinance is to be a nudge, to nudge people into returning the property back to active use, rather than just sitting on it. It's just that simple.
At the particular time we were reviewing this, I'd had somebody come in my shop. He was back here in Lindsborg. His parents had died. They had some properties here. He was back to clean them, trying to clean them out. He came to my shop and he was just kind of frazzled because he wasn't having a lot of luck getting this stuff cleaned out. And his comment was, well, my brothers and sisters didn't come back to help, and quite frankly, when I'm trying to get rid of this stuff, they're being absolutely no help at all. So I'm probably not going to get them emptied out. And this is the kind, an example of some of the kind of things that you can get into. And without having something that gives a firm nudge, if you will, how do we get their attention and make this thing work?
Bill, is part of your concern the fact that it certainly has the appearance that council is wanting to assign a penalty that is punitive, because that's not our role, because that's actually a role of the court system to assign a punitive damage? I mean, is that what part of the tangle is?
I guess my problem is that the police power of the city is designed to protect health and safety of the city. This is an exercise of the police power. Vacant property in and of itself is not a threat to the health and safety of the city, not like a code violation is. And I think that's where the real issue, it's a legal argument.
Sure, but could that be argued? I mean, I look at what was formerly the Smoky Valley Bed and Breakfast, or Dr. Moore's doctor's office. It was abandoned and people got in and burned it to the ground. Mm-hmm. That is an example of public safety because the building was unattended. It was not being lived in. So that does go to public safety, doesn't it? Well,
yeah, I mean, you're never gonna cut out everything, obviously. But when the city is beginning to tell private property owners that you have to get this occupied, I don't see that as an exercise in the police power. And that's what I see this as doing.
Thank you.
In regards to the comments about what you had, yeah, there's vacant houses. They're still paying property taxes. They're committing to the financial well-being of the city. Utilities are user fees. You pay what you use. And so the fact that you're not using it, unless you're going to change the entire structure of collecting for utilities, you're stepping into a different realm. I haven't seen any city that is using this type of authority to fill vacant buildings. I haven't seen it. So that's my concern. You can do it. You don't have to listen to me. I don't know if it would be enforceable if it were challenged. Let me put it that way.
Maybe the whole issue here is just getting people's attention.
And that may be.
And it certainly would.
It may be.
Will you say that again, Becky?
I said, and the whole issue here really is not about collecting money and all that, it's getting people's attention and saying, this property in our community, and this is not okay. Because it does affect your neighbors.
Yeah.
That's the part that I keep looking at. As I look at some of these properties that are, there's a few of them that I think, gosh, I just feel so bad for those people who live on either side of these houses.
Yeah, but you're talking more of the neglected properties.
I am.
Not so much of it. And that's why I wonder if maybe we need to go more towards, I think it's kind of hard to regulate just vacant properties and not neglected. I mean, as he says, you have a house for sale, the market's horrible, but you maintain it as in better condition than somebody who has a neglected property, and you're getting charged the same as Joe Smith down the road who has, shingles off of his house and water leaking in and stuff, and your house has a perfect manicured lawn, even though you don't live there, it's for sale. I don't know, I think we probably need to take it back to committee. That's my opinion on it.
I'll say this, once they go to the neglected state, then they're hard to get back. And they sit there vacant for a year, and then be gone, and ultimately, they become neglected. And it's hard to reel it back in at that point.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the registry and those properties that are unoccupied for longer than a year, we're kind of lumping them all together. There are photographs of well-maintained houses that are registered but have been vacant on the proposed, where pictures will be posted on the website? Or is it just the neglected ones, the ones that, the roof falling in or the porch falling off?
No, actually, right here, we're not addressing any published list or any public outreach or display of vacant buildings. That was actually a whole other thing that we talked about doing. This is simply an ordinance to require owners to register that vacant building. And I wonder if there isn't some staff leeway in how they might define that vacant for a year. I can think of, you brought up an example, and I can think that if someone occupies the house, the residence, 1, 2, 3 weeks, is that the definition of vacant? I wonder if there is a little bit of latitude staff to grant. I don't know how hard we would pursue those sorts of cases politically. It wouldn't be very popular.
Well, and it doesn't seem like, I would side with Bill on this one. It doesn't really seem like it's our job to say, you know what, you want another 2 weeks a year, we think you should sell it. And since you're not interested in it, heck, we're going to charge you $250 a year. I can see that. That does not seem very American.
I had a hard time writing that.
How about that? I'm looking at this church down the street that's been bought by an individual. I don't believe we know who to contact. I mean, if we do contact him under our current position, this guy can tell us, mind your own business. Mind your own business. Yet it sits there, another vacant, empty building, and it will only be a matter of time before it falls into the neglected category. It already has some foundation issues. How long will it be before those are addressed? if we take this, take this approach that we can't nudge people into saying, okay, if you're not going to have this thing occupied and you're not going to actively market it, there's a price for having a house out here empty in a town, and the safety issues go beyond fire. In a vacant house, in the wintertime, you get rats, and the mice come in, there's nobody in there to tend it. If they get an invasion of termites or other insects inside, there's no one there to police that. The chief sure isn't gonna know about it. We sit here, a house that is neglected goes to the ground. And, we're sitting here trying to keep these houses viable. In most cases, there aren't people who, to them it's out of sight, out of mind. We need to keep it in mind. And this is one way of doing it. If we need to tune it a little bit, maybe, make it a little less punitive. But it's got to have something. It's got to have a nudge in it, or they're just going to tell us, hey, mind your own business. And like you say, the dog license, I'll pay my dog license fee and get off my back. And it sits there for another year. When the storms come through and the limbs go down in the yard, then it's, and the grass grows and all the other things come up around it. Yeah, we said we get out and clean it up. Well, what are we doing? We're absorbing those fees and those charges until this thing gets sold. It becomes more of a problem as time goes on. If we have to maintain it as a city, I think we're getting too soft on this issue.
Becky, what is your desire as committee chair on this?
Well, we passed it out of committee.
You got a motion and a second.
There is a motion and a second, yeah.
Yeah.
And we passed it out of committee, and we had a lot of discussion. And, I guess I could say that it would be a little bold here and just see what happens.
That's a good idea. We're
See,
just talking about that.
just
I'll
let it fly.
make a motion to call the question.
No. What do you mean? Well, we can vote on what you said.
Yeah.
I'm not there.
I need a second on that.
Yeah. You called the question. Motion second. Discussion's done then, correct?
There's no discussion on a motion, on this motion. This is an up or down vote, whether to have the vote.
Okay. Everybody understands Bill's explanation of that?
Who was the second?
I was.
Okay.
So this is a vote on the up and down.
No discussion on this motion.
Discussion. All those, does it need to be roll call?
Probably should.
Roll call, please.
I'm getting there, hang on.
I think.
Okay, Kelly? Yes. Betty?
No.
Wayne?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
W.R.?
Yes.
David?
No.
Emo?
No.
Becky?
Yes.
1, 2, 5 yes votes.
5-3. All right, now you'll be voting on ordinance 4872 as presented to us with no amendments. Roll call, please.
Kelly? No. Betty?
No.
Wayne?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
W.R.?
Yes.
David?
No.
Emo?
No.
Becky?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, tie.
Yes. Item number 3.
The neighborhood revitalization program. Gary, you want to start that up there?
Okay?
They're just warmed up.
You can move it down. I'll put an X on the floor for you. Stand, so.
It's a fairly simple plan that we put in the motion not that long ago. It provides for rebates to applicants that meet the minimum multifamily requirements of 10 or more units and a $100,000 investment or more. It's limited to the Harrison Coal corridor. It's not identical to the current commercial corridor. It's skinny back more along to frontage property on Harrison Coal. Other than that, it's very similar to the commercial incentive that provides for 100% of the property tax increase for 5 years and 50% for another 5 years. It's a 10-year rebate. It roughly dollar for dollar returns about 10% to the developer of the multifamily development structure. It coincides with the council's desire to provide more multifamily housing in Lindsborg, providing incentive for it, and it also takes a look at the mixed use on Harrison Coal and is an attempt to encourage more residential living on that corridor. Any questions?
Does the multifamily, would this include, say, development of duplexes?
As long as there are at least 5. Yes.
5 is the key.
5 buildings?
10.
10
10
units,
units.
10 living units,
That's what I was gonna have. That's
5 structures.
Duplexes would be
Yeah.
10 living units, yes.
Thank you.
You are simply approving the plan as it's been laid out in front of you, discussed in committee. The next step will be to approach the county commission, get them on board, and the school district, because without all 3 entities signing on to an interlocal agreement, this does not have the value in the property tax abatement or rebate, because we need all 3 partners involved.
Do we approve or adopt?
Approve, but Gary, you want
Oh.
to update from our discussion this afternoon on the thoughts we discussed?
Actually, we have another neighborhood revitalization program that's been pitched at us from a developer that will be in both committees next week. And we'll lay that out. We'll talk about that then. Greg and I talked a little bit about rolling that out along with this plan to the county and the school district, which would delay adoption of eventually this program a month. But I would like to, if we're going to present it to the county and the school district, I'd like to do it together rather than do it one and then a month later present another one. Makes us look a little reactive and like we don't have a plan. So if you approve this, I'll put it in my pocket and we will then have discussions at committee next week on another plan. And we won't bundle them together, but we will approach the county and the school district with both plans as a bigger comprehensive incentive.
Are you saying these are complementary plans or contradictory plans?
They're not
I'll make a
contradictory.
motion to approve the multifamily neighborhood revitalization plan for discussion.
I'll second.
Now continue, David.
No, that's fine. Say your answer again, will you?
They're not really related at all. They're certainly not contradictory.
Okay. That's fine.
It's another part of town that it's a different sort of housing, but it is housing.
Okay. Thank you.
Additional questions on the neighborhood revitalization program we're talking about here tonight?
And this did come from a council planning session.
Yes.
We asked Gary to put this together.
That's correct.
We put it together pretty fast,
Yes.
and I like it. I mean, the idea is to have something that you can get working around with, that you don't have to have a 6-month delay. So I appreciate the push to get this thing built and ready to adopt. I wish we had a developer waiting in line for the approval, but we're working on that too.
there's somebody out there surfing YouTube right now looking for this information.
He's wondering why you're standing in front of the mayor. Additional
Just
questions?
follow orders.
Yeah. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passed, thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. The next item is a proposed travel app from the CBD. Colleen, who wants to about that?
First of all, the budget, or the amount that we'd be requesting would be $1,500, not the $2,000 that we had discussed earlier in committee meeting. As we have begun the process of reprinting the brochures this time, it's always very clear to us when we do this that our brochures are very expensive. And we have realized through research and through some different methods of looking at how people utilize electronic information that more frequently people are using electronic means to download information for travel purposes. I looked at one statistic, which is 90% of people use electronic means to obtain information about where they're traveling while they're traveling to a place that they're not familiar with. So I began to research a little bit what we could do with this project and looked at many different options. One of them being working with Spirit Plus. They provided us great website options and they maintained our product very well, but they were very expensive and we were looking at $5,700 for our first year cost and $1,200 a year for every year after that. I also visited with Peter Weston at Vision Tech about the possibilities of the school system working on this project for us, and he was very excited about that opportunity. And we talked about it for probably about a 2-month period off and on, and realized that the school system could probably come up with something that would be very good for us at probably a $500 to $700 cost. But we knew we could do an Apple platform, an iOS platform for an iPhone, but we could not promise we could do anything for Android, particularly right away, and that it would be very difficult potentially for the school system to maintain updates for this. So I began looking at other options and came up with an application called Map to App, which is a new travel app building program that is actually has been developed by a company out of Italy, and have communicated with them several times through email about the potential of utilizing their basis for building this, but also using Vision Tech students then to work on this for us. We looked at the cost to enter 100 different items would be about $1,500, and 1,000 of that going to this application development company, and then $500 going to Vision Tech for their time involved. We would like to have it done in this semester, but we know that there may be issues, and so we're looking at definitely by the end of the year. I would like into the school year, most definitely. I have also applied for a grant for this through the McPherson County Community Foundation, and we'll know more about that at the end of this month, but I don't know anything right now. Do you have questions?
Colleen, when you say 100 things to
100 entities. Up to 100.
What constitutes an entity?
We can enter anything from the Old Mill Museum to businesses that we think would be of interest to people who are visiting. There would be things that we probably would not enter, like insurance agencies, things like that. We're going to be for people that choose to live here, but probably not for people that are visiting, because we do have to be wise about that. Just because of cost. We do know that we would have a $50 update fee for this and $100 per new revised app upload. So every time that we have a business that says, I'm changing my hours, or I'm changing the days of the week I'm open and I want to change this on the app, I think as a CBB we would have to have a policy in place that said we would be responsible for that $50. And then maybe once or twice a year, we would upload that app again when it's redesigned, and we have put that information in for everyone, but we would not do it frequently. It's just too time and money consuming to do that. So.
Does this make it Apple and Android?
Yes, and it would be compatible for all phones, and this company would maintain the updates for us, so we would not have that concern. At least that's my understanding. They have worked with school districts before, and are pleased about the potential of being able to do this. And I will tell you that they're new, and this is new, and so there are some bugs in it still, but as I tested it and worked with it a little bit, it seems pretty easy to use, but there are a couple things that I noticed weren't working the way I liked, and they said that they're addressing those, and that was probably not their.
So how do you access this? I mean, me as like an average Kansas resident who travels, I go on my phone and I type in Lindsborg, Kansas, and it pulls up Google Maps and points of interest through Google Maps and then websites.
So do you want to come up here and help address the different ways that we could put this in place to be accessible?
Absolutely.
We talked a little bit about it, and things that are good about it. We talked about push.
I think, but let me refine my question a little. If, as an average person now, I'm coming to Lindsborg, Kansas, and I am searching for stuff, how would I come across this information? How would I interact with it?
Well, I'd actually first point out that I think you underestimate yourself, because I think you're actually doing more than what the average person might do, and I think the idea would be to make it even easier. So you would include like a link in terms of when you're searching for the city, that's like the primary thing that is included. You'll notice that in any sort of phone search that you ever do, there's a banner that will pop down if there's an app that's tied to that facility. So if I search the New York Times on my phone, it will tell me it's much easier if you navigate through the app. So one way to do that would be to tie the website to the application, at which point you'd either be directed to the Google Play Store or the App Store to download the city app.
So they tie it from like the Lindsborg City Hall webpage to the CPB and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think just for general promotion, I think regularly putting out traffic on Facebook and Twitter and so forth would really help garner, the attention of people who are going to be looking for the city. And Yelp would be another great one to utilize as well in terms of directing people to the app.
Does it end up in the App Store? You push App Store, Lindsborg, and it's a choice.
Yeah, and I mean, that would be another option if somebody were going into when they're preparing for their travel or they're in town, that might be something else to, change the dialogue of the community in that once this is available, the proprietors and local individuals would be sure to tell people to access the app, because it makes it much easier to travel around town and so forth.
We realized over the summer that a good number of our brochures that we go through go out just over in travel kiosks. People grab them while they're here in town and utilize them. And so we would also be publishing information in the travel kiosks and at businesses saying instead of the brochure, you can download this app and see the app. So that would be easy. One of the things that I had not thought about as we were talking about this is being able to use push alerts. And Cody brought up the fact that this would be a really good thing for us to be able to use during community events or festivals, that we can push out information saying at such and such a time this thing starts.
Push alert.
A push alert would be anything that you allow your phone to receive access from. So whether that's an app or a service that you subscribe to or anything like that. For example, if I'm a Major League Baseball fan and I like to know what the Royals are doing, I can allow that application to tell me at any given minute, are they winning, are they losing? And as we all know, this is the first year that they're winning. And so more of those notifications. But,
Few more pushes.
few more pushes. But in all seriousness, what that would allow, if I allow that application to send those notifications to my phone, if I'm in town for Hillings Fest, as an event coordinator, I could say, got a funny joke, come join the Spin and Ollie joke contest in 15 minutes at Swedish Country Inn. And then that would go to everybody's phone in town at that time who has that application. So it would be a secure and an encrypted way of sending information to a mass amount of individuals at one time. And it would be front and center on their phone.
How are those push alerts created? Who's managing that? Who's doing that?
That would be the person at the, No, but anybody who, it would be from like the app control center. And so when you're creating that original content that goes online, it's not on the infrastructure side or the software side where they're designing the code for the application. It's on the side of who's putting that content in. So,
well, and I'm just thinking, as an example, Hillings Fest, we have different committees doing different things, where you may have push alerts coming from several different areas. Is that something that's going to be
scheduled?
Yeah, I think it's a new territory. So it's something that all, and you also kind of want to consider, how much you want to put out, because as we know, living in an age of mass communication, you can get inundated by too much. So Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it would be a centralized location, so not everybody would necessarily have access to send out, you know, anything.
I thought you were going to hit it from the security side as a passcode, so that not just anybody. Luke Fisk is good.
I have another question, and mainly this stems from you mentioning like app pop-ups. I'm one of those people that I see those, I say, heck no, I don't want that, I just want the regular form. I just want, I have a big enough screen, I can read it, I don't need anything optimized that. But my question there is there a way for us to check statistics on it? How many people are utilizing it, how often, that kind of stuff? We will be able to keep track of this so we can review it later, next year, or a couple of years. I mean, it'd probably take at least a couple of years for something like this to catch on. But later on down the road, we can review it and make sure it's feasible. Okay, good. That's what I like to hear.
Holly, again, just reviewing entities, I'm guessing you're qualifying your entities as things that might be destinations
Things that
or
are interesting
needs.
to us, not things that are interesting to people who want to live here necessarily, but people that want to visit here.
It's safe to say the hospital doesn't have a place on the app.
Unless there's an emergency and we need to know. I mean, that would be a possibility.
That's what comes to my mind when people travel. When I go to an area, I want to know that there's some services there. Hospital, house, I want to know, if I got a tire problem, I'm pulling a boat and I'm going, you can come through here. I want to know that I've got services there aside, along with the museums and all
Some of
that.
those things are available through regular internet service. And I'll be the first one to tell you, this isn't mandatory. I don't know of any other community, even close to our size in the state of Kansas, that's doing this, not one.
I'm pleased to be a front runner.
Yeah. It's worth a shot. I mean, if it's not working, we'll know because we have information to back it up. So.
And Holly, one run of your brochures cost how much?
It's over $3,800.
$3,800, and that printed how many?
10,250.
To last a couple of years, to last 1 year. So this cost pales in comparison to that and doesn't even address the reach.
And we have yet to address the fact that my transient guest tax is going to be substantially reduced by the fact that Bethany College is using the entire Cornwall Hotel and half the Viking for dormitory rooms this year. So that's going to substantially decrease the marketing budget.
As a little aside, I don't know if you've all seen the new brochure. Have you seen it? It's for Lindsborg. It's the visitor's guide. It's fabulous. It turned out, you ever seen it? Where's yours? Well, see how
I'll be visitors.
it's really, it's extremely attractive. And so,
I'm also hoping we can really begin to push this with people who do tour operation. In the month of September, I have 7 tours booked already, and I have another friend call for a tour bus in April, just today. So we're beginning to see some return from the last about 6 weeks that we've done some marketing pieces with just tour operators, which is really good. We've not seen that a lot.
Well, you can just push them with a thank you for coming to Lindsborg or something else that this happens through. I mean, that's just another way to appreciation to show the tours or whatever it is while they're here.
I'm still learning about all this stuff, and so quite frankly, I think that goes through to anyone that has the app.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to think.
But still, I mean, those are all things that are.
The winner of the $10,000 is.
There you go, yeah.
Cromer.
okay, so this is a motion to approve not to $1,500 to develop this app. And do we have a motion and a second on this? I just did it. Okay,
Second.
After all this discussion, Dave, do you do something?
I actually did.
Oh, okay.
Let's look at this competition.
Thank you, guys. All right, any additional discussion after we have a motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Becky?
Yes.
Evil?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
W.R.?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Helen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Cody. It's another plus for having vision tech in our community. Yay. Okay. All right, the next item is the official city depositories and,
I do.
okay. The staff recommends the following: People's State Bank, or People's Bank and Trust, Farmers State Bank, First Bank Kansas, Bank of Tuscan, and the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool. That is in motion to adopt these as.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on official city depositories? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.
The next item is the official city newspaper. It is a motion to approve Lindsborg News Record as the official paper.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the official city newspaper? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. All right, Utilities Committee.
Utilities Committee wants to present the proposal to ask for some LED street lights, and this would be to replace all of the lights in the city except for the ones that are already scheduled to be replaced for the downtown improvement. And the information is there. They think it will be a considerable savings, $2,000+ a year. 5 or 6 years, it should pay for itself in the savings of electricity and be more effective as well.
David, before you make a motion, there is a correction. I believe that's for 50 lamps.
Oh, is this for the whole town?
No.
Oh,
I was
is
gonna
it?
say, that seemed awfully cheap.
It's all of the 250.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Bill.
It's all the 250 watt.
I thought, what about the 480 volt ones? Are those the?
That's the circuit that we're getting rid of.
Okay.
Everybody fully understand it's a 408,
Must not, because I.
480 circuit, 250 watts with 50 fixtures, and it's not the entire city.
Okay. Could be though.
It could be. We could save more money.
So,
That process.
was that a motion?
Before we go on, does everybody understand what the Chris Davis is there a motion?
I made the motion.
And what is it?
I'll second it.
The motion is to expenditure
$12,000.
$12,603.40 on 50 light fixtures to replace the 250 watt fixtures that are also part of the 480 volt circuit. It's really bad and dangerous to work on in the community.
I'm sorry, Tim, I read this as meaning to replace all of the 250 watt lighting in town. I didn't realize it was just.
Yeah, most of the lighting in town is 125 watts.
Thank
This is only from 250.
My fault.
So we have a motion and a second?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Now discussion, Betty.
This is light fixtures, does that include the LED lamps too?
This is really the change of the head, is it not?
Change the head.
So it does not include the lamps?
Yes, it's,
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
It's-
everything I need to do this.
Okay.
It depends on how technical you want to get. An LED doesn't have a lamp.
Okay, well, I mean, the bulb or whatever it's called.
It's a
The whole head.
It's a diode. So-
Well, when I replace the LED light in my bathroom light, it's that little extra thing I have to buy to put into the fixture, so I
It's
have to buy it.
the picture of it is right there.
Page 40
Okay,
shows a picture of the
all right.
AEL, is that what we're getting?
And then my next question,
Me too.
my next question is, in these the 480 volt circuits, it says they're one of the most dangerous because of its tendency to arc. And some of our outage issues have been upon occasion? No. Okay, thank you. That's all.
And this is going to be paid by energy saving.
It's the,
Energy efficiency.
Okay.
So this will change, basically the big change you're gonna see is Harrison Cole
around the school,
and around the school,
and then there's a few spots
here and there. But Harrison Cole will be the big
So it
change.
is more than just Harrison Cole.
Yes,
sir.
I mean,
it's all
that's
250 watt.
Yeah. And which one of these two do you prefer?
the Cooper XMB2.
Is this work to be done this calendar year?
Yes. But soon we get them in, we'll start putting them
And this means we'll have the same light fixtures then, is that right?
You'll have the
They're-
pole
are
of the
they
same
gonna look like
arm,
this?
they're just gonna change, you're gonna change the head.
Okay.
And they'll look like that Cooper 10MV2,
in.
XMV2. You see that on page 40?
Yes, I am looking
Yeah.
at it, and it's
It's flat.
not very
Look at the other one.
stylish.
Is the other one's more stylish?
No, neither of them are. That's
LED
why,
is not very stylish.
but
unless
aren't
you're paying
sometimes
attention to
is LED sometimes contained in a fixture that is more attractive?
Downtown it is.
Will be.
From a retrofit standpoint, from the existing Cobra headlamp to something else, you're not gonna find a retrofit that's highly attractive. But it's not any
Not
less
this
than a Cobra
price.
headlamp.
Well, and that's, and I think.
You're gonna
that's-
go $600, $700, $800 a lamp.
Well, I think that's why the whole price surprised me that it was as little as it was, so, but now I understand why it's that price, okay.
But the savings and everything is in place.
You can't see them in the dark and you won't look at them in the light.
That was so
That's some deep theory there.
Happens everywhere.
All right, with that thought, you won't see them in the dark and you won't care in the light. Is there any further discussion?
Please don't.
Roll call, please.
Vicky? Yes. Emo?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Debbie R?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Kelly? Yes. Thank you.
The other, second, item on the Utilities Committee is a normal street lift station study, and what exactly is an abnormal one?
That would be in another town.
Would you explain that to us, please?
We were approached by Bethany College about the demolition of the existing dormitories and construction of the new ones. They would be adding approximately 112 rooms, 200 and some students, a lot of bathrooms. We've always been a little close to the edge on our capacity for the normal street lift station, and we need to have a study done of what that capacity is, what capacity is left, how much we can serve with what's there, possible remediation for some problems. We need them to do a study.
But perhaps that, what might need to be done would be to include a lift station.
Probably would mean modification to the existing.
Whereas the existing one is on Normal Street, block up about half block. West,
Between First and Main, I'm sorry, between Second and Main.
yes, okay. And that might need changing
Additional
somewhat.
capacity, a larger pump, greater pipe, greater
Yeah,
pipe.
okay.
Those are all questions that will be answered on the study based
Yes.
on
And
the
you're
additional
asking
housing there and any other housing that they get.
For funding for this, and I, correct?
Pardon me?
You're asking for funding
Yes, sir.
for this study.
My sheet didn't come in, I didn't get it on my, maximum cost of $3,081.
David, is that a motion before we get?
Yes, well, I was just going to say, I move we do this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded for additional discussion, please.
Yes, I think we also discussed in committee that we were looking at not only providing capacity for the college, but also the potential, what it would take to realize service on further north of town, in the north end of town.
Yes, we need to be able to say, okay, we can handle 100 more houses or 50 apartments, or what can we actually
allowed to be built up there without any additional work done.
Okay. Good questions. Anybody, anything else?
And they have assured you that they can do this by September 19th.
Just complete the study out there? Yes. Although we're a week later than we had anticipated because of the budget
Yeah.
pushing this a week. So that might push a week.
All right, additional discussion? Hearing none? Anyone catch it off? Saw a hand on that. Roll call, please.
Okay, just so I'm clear, he said $3,080, but the recommendation from committee was not to exceed 3,100, so where do you want that to fall?
Not to exceed 3,100.
I just want to make
The
sure. I have
motion is
motions correct.
$3,081.
And we can go with that. It's-
The motion is not to exceed $3,081.
Okay.
Everybody understands?
Yes.
Great. Roll call, please.
181. Okay. Beck,
Yes.
Emil,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
W.R.
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Blaine,
Yes.
Betty. Yes. Kelly.
Yes.
Thank you, David. Streets and Parks.
First item is the reuse of McPherson Street K4 millings, and the millings proposed to be used about 3,300 tons. This would put roughly 4 inches on East and West Union, is that correct? In that neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That is a motion to approve the use of these millings on East and West Union.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for discussion of the use of millings from McPherson Street.
I'm all for this, but will you explain exactly what millings means?
That would be the asphalt that's in place.
Roundup?
That would be the asphalt that is milled off of the street. Roundup, yes, and it still retains a lot of oil and gravel, so it's
Great. And does it adhere to itself, I guess? In
better than dirt does.
Yeah, dirt doesn't do too well.
No, and it washes away.
Okay.
The thought process behind this was also, I mean, we've kind of done this before, but the billings weren't as clean as what was proposed to come off of K4, so the end result should be a little bit better than what
We
we
have
had
done
before.
it before.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I didn't ask you for it.
I'm still in favor.
You expect there to be additional millings after that? You think this will cover all the millings you get? Don't know yet.
I think there'll probably be some left over.
Okay.
Because there's a half a mile of roadway at 8 inches, and we're not covering quite half a mile, or a mile with 4 inches, so
Okay.
there should be some left.
We'll look forward to where they end up. All those in favor of using the millings to do Union Street, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Thank you.
The next item is, we received a request from the Central Kansas Conservancy about the Metal Arc Trail. They would like the city of Lindsborg to purchase, I think it was 2, wasn't it, trash receptacles?
Possibly 2 cans.
Yeah. This is a motion to approve the purchase of 2 trash cans not to exceed $1,474.
What is it?
Well, committee was different.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
The committee recommendation was different.
Oh, it was for $1,000, I'm sorry.
For one trash receptacle,
One trash
one
receptacle.
I have a sign.
That's all I said, there were 2.
Because it's
2 nice looking.
That's what they asked for.
Okay.
So your motion is, really, your motion is what?
The motion is to purchase 1 trash can receptacle and 1 directional sign, not to exceed the amount of $1,000.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Just to make it clear, the directional sign is for the trailhead there, some kind of sign indicating that there is trail parking over north of Riverside Park, which is our trailhead that we have.
That part.
South Park.
I mean, did they request that, or is this what we said?
No, that's what they requested.
That's what they
Because,
Finish what you were saying.
because the parking there is very limited around the trailhead and that little turn in for them and the other areas. And the question was, could we direct them to some kind of parking? And I said, we have, our trailhead is over beyond that area, and that would be something that we possibly could do. Great.
The item we added to the agenda on the Old Mill Bridge greatly impacts that directional signage. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how we would sign that.
We'll have that app by then, and we can.
You start pushing over.
You're right.
Are you directing them to park in the South Park section prior to crossing the bridge, that area along the
It could be there, or it could be the actual trailhead that we have down there. It's north of the South Park.
Where the recycling.
Used to be.
Just north of.
Because they can get right up the trail there.
If
They
you
can,
can't get on the bridge, then you can just be on the south side of the bridge.
there could be parking that becomes available. That's true. We'll work with them to see what they feel is the best case on what's going to happen with the bridge and that. So the real idea was to have in that first mile a trash can or two and some signage that depicted closer to Lindsborg, a little nicer than a blue cut up 30-gallon blue drum or something.
Did we speak about who maintains the trash cans?
They will.
Okay.
We will purchase, they will maintain and continue to do everything and stuff. So. Additional questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Becky?
Yes.
Eve?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Debbie R?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Betty? Yes. Kathleen?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is the other, discussing the Old Mill Bridge. Greg handed out to everybody a little handout here, and I'll let him speak to this, but apparently KDOT has been contracted to look at bridges, and the Old Mill Bridge is in really sad shape. It's, what was it, a 3-ton? It couldn't support a 3-ton?
Yes.
Max, so according to that, by ASHTO, needs to be closed. Anyway, but Greg discussed it in further detail.
Tim Dunn and I met with the county commission this afternoon in the Public Works. This is what's called a fracture critical bridge. I think it was just over a year ago last spring that we met with the county commission in a study session to talk about the bridge. KDOT has actually completed the inspection of the bridge. Excuse me. And as Councilman Martin said, if a bridge doesn't meet a rating of 3 tons or greater, it's closed to all type of vehicular traffic. In the inspection, if you go to this page here, it kind of shows you, if you look at those vertical pieces are actually the side of the bridge, then you have the road deck, the I-beams, and then the floor deck. The challenge with a fracture critical bridge is it doesn't just slowly fail over time. It's a catastrophic failure. So you could have vehicles going over it, not a problem. You could have 10 in a row, and that 10th vehicle will be in the river because it just completely fails. Because that floor deck is helping to carry the load of all these I-beams. So when you have a failure in that floor deck, and this is one of the areas here that is rusted through. Thank you.
That's why she runs our CDD folks.
And so, like if that failed, then everything would, that complete bridge would fail and collapse from the deck.
But it's still not our bridge, correct?
Correct.
It's a county bridge.
It's a county bridge, yes. And in fact, they will have on their agenda for next Monday a resolution to close that bridge. In the interim, they are citing that bridge within the next 2 to 3 days, once they get the signs made, to go out and say it's not rated at 3 tons. And what they are proposing to do is at 14th Avenue and Mill Road, for what they discussed. I don't think they made any firm decisions on exactly how they're going to do it. They are at 14th and Mill, put a sign that says no outlet, but have a but have have a camping symbol on there to show that there's camping there.
Is 14th the highway?
Yes, Old Lady Way.
I noticed the way they've had it before, with farm equipment or pulling something else, you could easily get down that road before you saw that sign.
Well, it would be
Further
signed, it would be signed on 14th Avenue,
Yeah.
that there's no outlet
Good.
down that road. There's a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit sign that would move. The bridge itself would have 2 permanent bollards spaced at approximately 5 feet at both ends of the bridge. They would also have, where you turn in to go into the camping and also to the parking to the west, have a dead end so that it would enable vehicles that were going to find out whether they were just kidding or not, have the opportunity to turn around.
Right. Does that mean it would be still usable for pedestrians?
Correct. Anything that it would be legally classified as a motorized vehicle would not be allowed to cross over that bridge.
So a bicycle could still go over there, so if we go back to the bike trail, people could actually still park in that parking lot over by our trail, the Lindsborg trail there, and take their bikes out of the car, and ride their bikes, and then get on to the center.
Not very complicated.
Yeah.
No turnaround.
Well, people would have to know, I guess, if they were coming here, but
Is there an estimate what it would take to fix the bridge?
They said a minimum of $5 million, because you can't fix it, you have to replace it.
So as far as there's no action for the council to take, it's really a quality of life issue of how much the city values the bridge and the actual functionality of moving.
It would have to be completely, it would have to be an all-new bridge. There's not an option of reconstructing it. Because they said, because of the age of the metal, you can't just go underneath there and weld plates on, because you can't guarantee that you're going to have welding adhesion between the old metal and new metal. What am I missing here, Tim? You were part of the discussion.
Well, I think you said it all. There is no fix. You have to go down from the top. You'd have to take the deck off. You'd have to take the I-beams off. You'd have to work on the road deck and bed, whatever, floor deck, and then build it all back up. So at that point, you've passed what it would take to put a new one in. There is no fix.
I have a question. Given that the bridge was built with the intent to hold the capacity of a vehicle, and it will no longer do that, according to KDOT, does that say anything about its capacity in general to hold anything? I mean, do they still technically say it's safe for pedestrians, or is it questionable now?
Well, I don't think it's, from the standpoint of it, I think the rating that it gave on
3
tons was under 2.4 tons. Has to be a minimum of 3 tons to handle any type of vehicle. So anything under 2.4 tons, it could carry.
Okay.
Once it's closed, are there
inspections done on the bridge then routinely to determine whether it's still safe 5 years down the road to?
No, there's not. I mean, well, are there required inspections? No. We can have them and look at it as part of the regular inspection. The challenge becomes with a fracture critical bridge. And particularly this one because of the load that it can carry now. They actually had to rope people down and pull them across because on a fracture critical bridge, you have to be within arm's length to inspect it. Now, they can be on the ground, take binoculars, look at it, but it's not going to be the same level of inspection that was done here.
The county engineer did say that he would continue to do a yearly inspection on it and would inform us if there was imminent danger.
Does this, I take it this does continue to remain the property of the county, even though it's been put out of commission?
Yes, I mean, they would love to get rid of it, but we didn't volunteer it.
So, that would be community.
I think they did offer 3 new bridges for a mill.
Yeah.
So no action is really necessary, more discussion at this
Yes.
point. Reality is they're gonna haul and it's gonna be a pedestrian crossing still.
Probably be closed a week from today.
They'll be
Or
closed a
tomorrow.
week from today, a week
Tomorrow.
from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sad days for those of us that have been born and raised here and have been used to that bridge. It's
We'll still be able to jump off of it.
So as far as traffic.
He meant fish off.
They're closing it, a week from today, or somebody said. So as we work on, what is it, McPherson or Lindsborg Street? McPherson? Is that what it is? Okay. So where's all this traffic going? Lincoln and Maine.
Yeah, the detour for the K4 project, it's signed to go down Lincoln and Maine.
But
Last time that happened, that was not a pleasant thing. Will we go through harvest like this?
70 days.
Well,
70 days.
70 days, calendar days to
So
completion.
we'll go through harvest with this as well. That's not a good thing. In sitting in an old building like I said, it's pretty amazing how much.
But that's not our decision, is it?
Chica's
It's the state's decision.
Chica's.
I think there is some good news. I mean, there's potential for removing 2 stop signs there at First and That's all I got.
Thank you, Chief.
Additional Old Mill Bridge information desired from anybody? If not, I'm gonna move
Okay,
on.
how is this gonna be told to the public?
Dan, you have a nice article planned about
You do, with pictures.
pictures. Okay.
Well, I would suspect we would be a little aggressive with social media because a week isn't a lot of time for people that have been using that bridge for 70 years.
Well, and certain
They're not.
people are also going to blame the city for this. So I hope there's some sign that says,
It's not.
County bridge.
But not maybe.
yeah.
Well, even from the county commission standpoint, effectively, they don't have any liability coverage on that bridge because they've been notified it's not compliant, doesn't meet regulations, and that's what they're trying to get it fairly quick.
Everyone in town should go out there at the same moment and drive across the bridge.
I don't want to be number 10.
Last time.
I don't want to be number 10.
Like my wife.
I do have
Other for
for streets and parks, and I don't know that this is the time or the appropriate place, but since I'm remembering it, I'm going to. When they were talking at President Leonard's announcement this morning, as the status of the college and what's going to be going on with the deconstruction and then construction of a new residence hall, the deconstruction of Deer Hall. I had residents that live to the west of Deer Hall asked me what the city was going to do with regard to parking and traffic. So I don't know if that is for committee, if that is for streets and parks. I don't know, but I did say I would pass that word on. That there is concern by the people that live to the west of Deer Hall about parking and traffic.
During construction,
During construction and construction.
Right now, we haven't received a formal plan, so it's kind of hard to hear
Okay.
explanation.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Public safety?
Okay, the agenda item is for no parking signs on West Madison, that part of the Madison that is there between Bethany Home and the high school. And the request and recommendation is to place no parking signs on the north side of the 300 and 400 blocks of North Madison, of West Madison.
And no parking signs being on north side of the street and 100 and 200.
I'm sorry, okay, that's what happened. So the 300 and 400 blocks currently have no parking signs, and this recommendation is to place no parking signs in the 100 and 200 blocks of West Madison on the north side. So, yes, so there will be no parking from the 100 through the 400 blocks of West Madison on the north side.
Everybody understand that motion?
I hope so.
Is there a second?
Where's 4 and,
Second, is that a second?
Sure, yes.
Thank you. Discussion?
What is the 400 block of Madison? Where is that? Is that beside the thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So this would take it from Main Street down to
Past
From Main to Pine.
Main to Pine.
They're gonna move Bethany Home people out of there while they're constructing this.
Putting the signs in?
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna lose their parking.
I think they did no parking already down there. It's the 100, 200s are the real critical areas.
But this is just on the north side.
North
So
side.
Bethany Home people can still park on the south.
Yeah.
Because that's all always full.
They've been doing that, yeah. The 300 and 400 is what have been there for several years. So it's 100 and 200 is what you're actually voting to add signs on. Additional information needed? Seeing none? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Any others, public safety? Item number 9, consideration of purchase order, ordinance 4878.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded for purchase order 4878. In discussion? Good try. With no further discussion, all those in favor say yes on roll call.
Kelly.
Yes.
Betty. Yes. Lane.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
W.R.
Yes.
David.
Aye.
Emo.
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item number 10, consideration of payroll ordinance 4876 and 4877. What is your desire?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on 4876 or 4877? Hearing none, roll call please.
Becky.
Yes.
Emo.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
W.R.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Betty. Yes. Kelly.
Yes.
Item number 11, others.
Yes. For the budget that was adopted, there's 3 copies of the budget certificate that everyone needs to sign before they leave.
3 copies.
Yes.
Should we start those right over here with Kelly and then bring them back around? Kelly, sign 3 copies, please. Any others?
Yes. Just want to make a comment, the new street safety street light that's been installed, the solar light down there, very effective. It's been that's a nice installation, first class job, and people do pay attention to it.
Good. That's the school warning light, just so those outside of this room understand what's going on. Any others? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Adjourn, thank you.